Hi class. I'm here just to kind of show you guys through the various assignments. I've uploaded the third script, which wasn't up there earlier today, but now it is. The easiest way to get these scripts onto your virtual machine is to actually go to Firefox on your VirtualBox installation of Ubuntu. Click on Firefox and then open up the Canvas page in MiraCosta, and then going out to the script example page from the module section, and then you can download all these. When you click on one of these files, you should get this little opening script sh. What you'll want to do is to save each of the files, and if you haven't changed any of the defaults from Firefox, they should go down to the download directory. Bringing up the File Explorer in Ubuntu, we see that I have all three of the scripts here that I downloaded, and they're in the download folder. Next, to actually play with them, we'll need to open a terminal to run them, but we also need to edit them. So the best way to actually edit them is to right-click on each of these files and say Open with gedit, which if you do that, it will take you to a gedit editor and open up each of the files. So I have script 1, 2, and 3 opened up. I guess I opened up 3, 2, or 1, 3, and 2, but they're all here, little tabs for each of the different scripts. So the scripts here basically start with the shebang, that's what they call it, /bin, bash. Basically this is indication that this is a bash shell script that will run on the terminal. And basically to run this script, it kind of shows you everything in a shell script is commented with a pound sign. So we have an example run of running this. This little caret typically rectifies the terminal prompt, and so I do ./script1.sh and then pass in the numbers. So therefore it prints out the various values and then it goes through that. So when we pass in these numbers, they get actually stored in this little $@ symbol, and it's passed in. And what this little statement here does is basically it takes every one of those values, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and in this example, and assigns them to var for each run. So basically what it's saying is for every number in here, assign that variable to, or that number to the var variable, and then print out that var variable in here. I was playing around with it, so I added the quotes back for the example. Anyways, so that's the little for loop that allows you to at least go through all the different numbers. The next section is just a simple of how you add or do any mathematical operations in bash. It's a little funky syntax in that you have to do you'll basically be assigning numbers to a var or something, and then you can use that and reuse the total sign to kind of do a little add up loop. For your example, you'll probably do something for the average for the assignment. You'll probably do total equals $var plus total and enclose, and that should basically allow you to kind of run through this and assign this. It's probably best practice to also make sure that you set total up to 0 before running through the loop, just so you know it's set to 0. In this case, bash automatically sets it to 0, but it's better to be a little explicit in your script definitions. That way you know for sure what's happening. So I'll remove that just for the sake of the remainder of the video. So basically this will print out num1 gets assigned to 3, num2 gets assigned to 4. I add those up and then I echo out that, which should echo out 7. And then the last part is when you have to find the largest or smallest number. This is an example of showing how you would compare two numbers together. So number 2, if num2 is greater than num1, then echo out num2. In this case, num2 is greater, so that evaluates to true. So then it executes the statement and right after the then, which would echo out number 2. This is an example script. One final thing I do want to note here is that when you initially download the files, they won't actually, and you do an LSAL when you go to the download area, is that they might appear white up here. So for example, here is when I first started it, this file script 1 was white, these two are green. The difference between those two is if they're not green here is that they're not executable, which means you'll have a problem actually executing the file. So basically when we go through and we need to make it executable. So if you see here, I try to execute script1 sh and it says permission denied. I do have to make it executable. So to make a file executable, I do chmod plus x and then the script name, which makes it executable. And then if we do another listing of the files, we see that it now turns green and is executable. So that must be done to make it executable. Here I actually did a test run of script1.sh and you see it printed out this. I ran it a few times just to kind of play it out. You'll notice that the example output's a little bit different in here in that I didn't actually pass in any of the numbers 3, 4, 5, or 6. So if I actually want to see that running with the example that we printed out earlier, I pass in 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that is the output, which we kind of see as an example run here. So that's the first script, and that should hopefully help you do assignment 1. You'll have to play around with the true statements and kind of running through the numbers. It'd be nice if you could do it all in one for loop, but if you need to break it down into several for loops to kind of do everything, that's fine as well. Also, if you want to get a little help with basically setting up a min and max number, is maybe you want to set up a min and max, and basically you could do min equals $1, and max also equals $1, and that basically specifies that the first argument, which here is 3, and then you can run through and compare those to the rest of the numbers. So after we do that assignment, we can do echo just min and echo max, and that should basically pass in 4, and then we added 2 echoes of min and min, and we assign them both to the first argument, which in this case would be 3, and those get printed out here. Okay, so that's script 1, and that should kind of help you with the assignment 1. And then we do go off and look at script 2 and 3 for different reasons, and we'll go from there. So moving over to script 2, again, the bash script starts with shebang bin bash, and here is a simple script that basically prompts the user to enter values. Here there's not, again, these scripts aren't doing any error checking, and that's not required for the assignment, but it's just get you guys familiar with things. So enter a file name that you want to create. In this, it reads in a file name. It then it tells you to enter output directory, and again, these reads are assigning whatever you type into these different variables. This touch command is kind of unique to Linux in that it creates a file based upon whatever you pass into it. So if you just do touch, a.text, it will actually create that file. So this is basically create a file, so it will create whatever name you typed in here. And then what this does is it makes a directory, whatever you typed in, and then it basically takes whatever file that you created and moves it from the current directory that you're in and basically puts it into the output directory. And then in this case, I updated this guy to kind of list out all the files of the output dir, just to kind of show you what it shows. And then this is in script 3 already, so we'll go and look at script 3 in just a second. But let's take a quick look at what script 2 will do. So script 2, again, we added the chmod to it to make it executable. So when we hit enter here, it asks me for a file that I'm going to create. So I'm going to do a.txt, and then I'm going to hit enter and enter the output directory. I'm going to actually put in test because I already have a test directory, and it just should move the a.text into that test directory, and then it will output that test. So in here, it's showing you all the files in that directory at the bottom there. So if we go back here and see, I wanted to put it in test, so I created the a.text. I then moved it to the test directory. So this is showing that move of the test directory, a.text, and then there was already a file in there called kml helpme.txt. Already. So if we actually go here and look at the File Explorer and double click the test directory, we see that there are the two files there in the test folder. And that's all that the script does. Again, you'll have to kind of use some of these inputs to get your inputs, and then basically loop through different files and look for things. So script 3 is a new script I added to kind of help you with some of the logic behind looking at files and moving them from one place to another and everything like that. So if we actually go here, basically all this does is kind of does the prefix, but kind of does it in a little different way. So here's that loop that we saw in the last part, which basically will print out everything in the output dir. Here it's basically I'm reading in some output dir to do something, and what I do is I just list everything for you guys to see, and then basically I'm kind of using a little trick here in that I'm changing directories to the output dir. Because that then allows me to actually just use this star symbol, which is the wildcard symbol in Linux, to basically loop through all the files and do my prefix without having to worry about parsing out the directory. There's another command in Linux called pwd, which allows you to show you the working directory, which then you can then move back to different things so that you can get back to the current state that you're in. So again, there's no error checking here, so if you mistype something when you're running the program, it won't quite work, but this kind of gives you an idea of how to do it. So this little for loop runs through all the files, shows you everything. And then what I do is I change directory to the output dir so that I can run the loop again and basically move every file and then prepend this prefix, which is KML, which are my initials, and then add that to the file for each file in there. So this script 3 should kind of do that second half of assignment 2 in adding the prefix. You'll probably want to change directories a few times, or you might want to get all the files out and moved over, but this kind of gives you a nice way of doing that and kind of gives you a better framework for those examples. So going back to the scripts and running script 3 .sh. So when I run script3.sh, we should see typing it in, going through a loop of that, and then basically printing out everything like that, and then moving it and adding the prefix. So I first wanted to do an output directory. I'm in the downloads folder, and because I'm in the download folder, I know I have a test directory here. So I'm going to hit type in test, and then what it's going to go through is basically echo out all the parts in the list, change directory to the output dir, add the prefix, and move every file over. So when I hit enter here, it printed out the files before, and it did the KML. So this is this part here. And then the move is kind of happening silently behind the scene. We could add an echo in the loop here. We would just add it here to kind of give us more information if we wanted to look at the output while we're running the script. But if we go back to, we can also look at that and see the output when I double click on the test. We'll notice that, if you recall, from here, a.text was one of the files, and now you'll notice that it has KML underscore text, and that's because the prefix here, KML underscore, was added to each file, and the old file was renamed essentially from a.text to KML underscore a.text. And the same thing with KML help me text, is that before it was just KML help me, and now it has two KMLs. So that gives you an idea of how you would move files through to different parts. And the last thing I wanted to show is kind of give you a way to look at what's actually happening when you're running a script. So in this case, if I want to actually see what's happening in a script, the best way to do it is actually just go into the script and going to -x, and then going back and actually running the script. So -x, let me make sure I save that so that the change actually takes place. Basically, it does a kind of shows you all the commands that get run when you're running the script. So if I hit enter, basically you see that it ran the echo enter output directory, and then it actually shows you the output directory that would get echoed, and then it's showing you the command which it did, which was read output dir. So it's showing you that it's expecting you to input something based upon the prompt and the command in the script. So in this case, I'm just going to hit test again, and then that will go through and print out the rest of the script. So when I hit enter here, you'll see everything that gets output. So every one of the pluses are something that the script is generating, anything, so that's something that the script is actually running. And then everything that's all the way to the left of the terminal is a prompt from the script, which are basically the things that we saw up here. So I typed in text, hit enter, and then it's showing you that for every entry in this command, it's doing echo test kml.a, which it was one of the files. So it prints out that. Again, it's going back through and showing you that it's running through that file again because there was two files in there, and it's echoing kml help me.txt, which then gets actually echoed again, and this is right over here on the script. And then it's showing you that it changes the directory to test, which is what we would expect it to do. The prefix gets assigned to KML, and then it's going for every entry in star, which is every entry for every file. Here, it's going to move KML underscore a dot text to KML underscore KML a dot text. So it's actually showing you the command that gets generated from these variables. So it substitutes in the variables. And again, it goes back to the top of the loop and shows you that now KML help me text actually now has KML, help me text. So it has 3 of them. And that's how you can debug a script by adding the -x again at the top of the script and then running it to kind of give you some insight into what's happening. So I would use both that -x and maybe print out echoes if you're having any problems running the script. And that's all I have for today. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please email me. Okay, thank you. Bye.